Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening? So this is a video about Project Veritas. So recently they released a video that supposedly shows DNC staffers for the Hillary campaign engaging in nefarious things. For example, supposedly shows them planning to engage in voter fraud or also inciting violence at Trump rallies, things like that. And thankfully, the media doesn't seem to be buying it this time. So if you don't know what Veritas is, it's the outfit run by James O'Keefe, who is most famous for his fake phony baloney expose of Acorn, which got Acorn shut down. So if you don't remember that, basically he went into an Acorn office and tried to get them to implicate themselves in human trafficking, right? And when they didn't go for it, when they didn't take the bait, he took his footage and cut it to make it look like that's what they were doing. And then he showed himself dressed up in this pimp outfit with like a fucking 16-year-old underage, prostitute with him. And like the idea is that he went into this place like with his hoe and stuff and was talking to him like that, but he didn't really wear that when he went in there, right? So he basically just manufactured this phony baloney scandal, which ended up getting Acorn shut down. So, and that's what this guy does. He's basically, he calls himself a citizen journalist, but he's no fucking journalist. He's a fucking, he's a political hitman is what he is. And it's like I took a look at the videos and it's basically the same shit. He's got people on there he claims are Hillary staffers, but they're not really Hillary staffers. They're DNC staffers in Florida. And he's got one guy saying that, he tries to get him to admit that they pay people to go cause, violence at Trump rallies. And the guy doesn't really do it. Like, you can take his comments in several different ways, right? And it doesn't actually, he never actually catches the guy saying that, yeah, we do this, right? And it's like, plus you don't know who this person is, and then there's like another guy, like he tries to get another guy to admit to like bussing people in, to like vote and to engage in voter fraud, to bussing people around to go vote and stuff like that, which is like, but the guy doesn't actually say that either, it's just implied that he does, and it's like, it's bullshit. So if you go on Salon, and Time, there's a pretty good expose on why these videos are not trustworthy. And that's the thing, right? It's like, there's a reason why real journalists remain objective and why they fact check everything that they put out, why it's because no one will believe you if you cry wolf. That's what's basically happened. Like this guy, he did his Acorn thing, which turned out to not be true. But which had the desired effect. He ended up shutting Acorn down for that. So, if you don't remember, Acorn was basically a citizen, rights organization that would go out and would help minorities and poor people register to vote. That was their crime, was helping, people that James O'Keefe doesn't like register to vote. And this guy got him shut down. Those people lost their jobs, right, because of bullshit that this guy made up. Okay. And he hasn't only stopped there. That's just the only real success that he's ever had. But he's tried to do some other things too. He tried to do some stuff with Planned Parenthood that didn't work out too well. He tried to do some shit with NPR once where he had a fake oil guy by the name of Muhammad go in there. And like the idea was to kind of claim that NPR was taking donations from ISIS, right? Or some shit like that. And that completely backfired on his ass. In fact, if I remember right, the people that he was trying to fool, actually had their own footage and outed him and basically played their own footage, which showed him being totally, misleading and, manipulative and misleading. And it's like, so here's the thing. It's like, number one, why should you believe anything that this guy says, showing his track record of, just manufacturing shit when he doesn't get what he wants. You know, basically he's not getting the footage he wants, so he's just cutting his shit to make it look like, you know, to create a false narrative. So why should I believe him? You know, it's like a crying wolf. Number one. Number two, the things that he's claiming are ridiculous in the first place. So let's take the voter fraud claim, right? Because this is something that you're hearing like Donald Trump saying stuff like that. Like he said it in the debates and he said it on interviews and stuff that the election's rigged and all that. You know, and he's saying this because he knows he's gonna fucking lose in 2 weeks. But anyway, and you know, if you think about it, like if you wanted to rig an election in that way, it's like an awful lot of work and risk for not a lot of payout, you know, because you can't just go into any place and vote. You know, you have to vote in the place that you're registered at, right? So you have to, you know, go to your specific polling place. You can't go to any polling place, right? And then you have to like, you give your name and then they have your name in a book, right? And if your name isn't there, then guess what? You don't get to vote there, right? So that's the first thing. You know, so in order to do that, they would have to register thousands of fake voters. You know, they would not just like, you know, because they're talking about busing people around. It's like, well, how many people can you fit in a bus? 30? Okay. Is that going to have any meaningful impact on an election? Probably not. So you would need to have thousands, right, in order to actually sway an election. You know, especially a presidential election, right? So you'd have to have 1,000 buses, right, going from polling place to polling place, right? So that means you'd have to have, let's say, 3,000 people or whatever. So those are all the voters, all the bus drivers, right? All the people who are paying them, because no one's going to do this shit for free, so you have to, like, pay them to fucking bribe them to keep it quiet. Not one person out of all those people is going to come forward and, like, expose your little scheme. You know, it doesn't make any sense. And this is so you can get like what, a couple of thousand up on a voter. You know, it doesn't, it's just not feasible. It's like it's a fucking conspiracy theory fantasy is what it is. I mean, if you were going to steal an election, voter manipulation seems to give you a much more bang for your buck. You know, vote manipulation, right? That's how people steal elections, you know. Stuffing ballot boxes, right? Passing out flyers saying that the election is a different day, or that cops are going to be there, or, you know, you have to, like, you know, if you have an outstanding balance with the IRS, then you can't vote. Shit like that, you know, like passing out flyers with lies, you know, registering people the wrong political party so that they can't vote in their primary. That was something the Republicans got caught doing back in like 2006. I don't know if I actually did a video on that back in the day. Like, you know, not a video, I did a blog post on that back in the day. Like, people were registering Democrats as Republicans so that they couldn't vote in the primary, that kind of thing, right? Trying to, like, fuck up the election. Like, that's far more effective than, you know, busing in people from out of state to go vote somewhere to, like, get the fuck out of here, right? You know, and it's just like, you know, and that's what this guy is. This guy is basically, he's a hack that tries to, like, find evidence of stupid, untrue, conservative conspiracy theories that, you know, everybody knows is fucking bullshit, right? And he can't actually find any evidence that any of this shit is ever happening, because there is no evidence, so he just makes it up, and it's like, you know, that's fucking, it's ridiculous. And that's the reason why real journalists don't do shit like this. You know, real journalists vet their information. They're, like, very careful about what they put out, you know. And anyway, so just don't believe it, folks. You know, I'm happy to see that this isn't making much of a splash out there in the media. You know, like, basically, like, all the networks and the media and, you know, CNN and stuff, they've all been burned by this guy in the past, and so now they're just, like, telling him to go fuck himself, which is good. So, you know, just don't believe any of this stupid shit, you know, when you hear it coming out of, like, fucking Breitbart or whatever, because it's not true, right? Especially from this guy. Anyway, adios, folks.